What's going on, guys? This is another episode here in Nolan's Pod. Today, we're going to be talking about the struggles of Kirk Cousins. The struggles continue. Obviously, nobody's happy about it, especially if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan. Nobody is happy about it. We're not happy about this losing streak. We're not happy about being in the slump. We're not happy about starting 6-3 only to go 6-7. We're not happy about losing 4 in a row. Nobody's happy. Neither should we be. One thing about the NFC South is weak. Our competition is the Buccaneers. Buccaneers are 7-6. They've gotten hot at the right time. This division is not over. The Falcons can still make up a lot of ground. We have the Las Vegas Raiders coming up, and then after that we play the New York Giants. Those are two teams who we should be able to handle. But when it's the Falcons, you can never say any win is guaranteed. So I'm not even going to start with that and guarantee those wins because those wins are not guaranteed. And you're playing the Las Vegas Raiders, you're playing the New York Giants your next two games. It's still an NFL team with NFL players, and anybody can win on any given Sunday, or in this case, any given Monday, because that Las Vegas Raiders game is going to be on Monday, and the Giants game is going to be on the next Sunday after that. Anyway, Kirk Cousins' struggles, we like to blame the quarterback. Some of it is not all his fault. The last 4 games that the Falcons have lost, let's go back to the game that they lost first game. That's the Saints. The Falcons lost 17-20. Kirk Cousins was 23 of 38 in passing attempts, and completion. He had 360 yards in that game, 1 INT. The score of that Falcons Saints game was 17-20. Kirk Cousins did not have a bad game that game, despite us putting up 17 points in that Saints game. Kirk Cousins was not bad, in my opinion, in that game. If you remember, Younghoe Koo missed 3 field goals, 1 extra point, and he missed like 2 field goals. If Younghoe Koo makes his field goals, we wouldn't even be having that discussion. Only discussion we'd be having is, okay, the Falcons are probably on a 3-game losing streak. That game was not on Kirk Cousins. That game was on Younghoe Koo and his field goal misses that he had in that game. And it was only 17-20. We could have won that game, possibly went in overtime or won it. But that game was a winnable game. That game was definitely not on Kirk Cousins. So we can flush that. That game's not on Kirk Cousins. He had a good game that game. That game was on Younghoe Koo. Okay, let's go to the Falcons Broncos. After that, we got smashed 6-38. Kirk Cousins was 18 of 27, 173 yards, 1 INT. That game was on Kirk Cousins. He played horrible. He was sacked a million times in that game. We couldn't get anything going. Didn't have a run game. Defense was non-existent. We allowed 38 points. So that 38 points, that was on the defense. And like I just told you, that was on Kirk Cousins also because we only scored 6 points. The Broncos just ran us out the building, and we just didn't play well, offensively or defensively. So that's a combination of both. Kirk Cousins and the defense played absolutely horrible. Kirk only had 1 interception in that game, but that does not tell the story. He couldn't get out the pocket to save his life. He was sacked a million times. And the Broncos, you have to give them credit because their defense is phenomenal. The Broncos have always had a phenomenal defense despite their offense. Then, they got Bo Nix, and he's lighting it up. And he lit it up for 38 points that game. So, yes, like I said, Kirk Cousins, his fault that game, and the defense's fault. Fast forward, Chargers, Falcons. Last week, 17-13. Defense couldn't play more phenomenal than what they did, only giving up 17 points. The defense played phenomenal in that Saints game. They only gave up 20 points. And the defense played phenomenal in this Chargers game. They only gave up 17 points. We only scored 13 points. That game was strictly on Kirk Cousins because he threw 4 interceptions for 245 yards. He was 24-39. Kirk threw 4 interceptions. That game was strictly on Kirk Cousins. The defense did everything it needed to do by allowing 17 points and having a great game plan, to go against the Chargers and Justin Herbert. Defense had a great game plan. They executed the game plan. Kirk Cousins, man. One thing about Kirk Cousins, what he's been doing in this slump, just throw the ball. If you're going to throw the ball, just throw the ball. Don't double clutch your throw and then decide that you want to throw after you double clutched it. And then that's when you throw the interception because you don't double clutch the throw because you don't hesitate it. He did that in that Chargers game, and he did that this past week against the Vikings. He double clutched the throw to London, and it got intercepted, or nearly got intercepted. So that game was Kirk Cousins' fault. 4 interceptions, 17-13. Chargers win that game. This game, he comes back to the Minnesota Vikings. He goes back to Minnesota, his old team. We get smoked 42-21. Kirk throws 2 more interceptions. He was sacked once. He was 23-37. In passing attempts, he had 344 yards. So again, if Kirk just stops putting the ball in harm's way, we will be fine. The one other thing I will say, we got to run the ball. Yes, Bijan Robinson had 22 carries for 92 yards, 1 touchdown. We have to have a run game. We have a run game. We just don't use it as often as we should. We get so pass happy because we got Kirk Cousins, and that's what's hurting us. We know that Kirk's going to give away the ball. We know that he's going to do this. I've always said, even before this man signed with the Falcons, when he first signed with the Falcons, I said, I like Kirk Cousins, but you can't trust him. Go back to my earlier episodes. I said it. I like Kirk Cousins. He's an upgrade from the quarterbacks that we had in the past. The previous 2 years, he's a major upgrade over Desmond Ridder, who we might face this week, by the way, when we play the Raiders. Kirk Cousins is an upgrade, and I love him, but you can't trust him. When he was with the Vikings, he was good, but you can't trust him. When he was with Washington, he was good, but you can't trust him. When he's with the Falcons, I said it, I love him, but you can't trust him. And this is where the trust is broken at, when you just giving the ball away. But it also does not help when your offensive coordinator is not calling plays for the run game and not running the ball more. Bijan Robinson can be like Derrick Henry. Bijan Robinson can be like Saquon Barkley if we just use that to our advantage. We have two good running backs. Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier can be like Jamar Gibbs and David Montgomery for Detroit. If we use them more and stop being so pass happy, when you got a quarterback who puts the ball in harm's way, if we just run the ball, that takes the pressure off of Kirk Cousins. That takes the pressure off his shoulders, and he's not putting the ball in harm's way. But we don't use the run game to our advantage, and I've been talking about that. But it's not only the Falcons. It's a lot of teams in this league that just don't value the running back. They rather throw the ball rather than just running the ball down a team's throat. Look at the Baltimore Ravens. When Baltimore wins, they're running the ball with Derrick Henry. When they lose, he's not getting carries, and they're not running the ball with him when they lose. When they win, he's running the ball. He's getting all the touches that he needs. They feeding him. Look at what Philadelphia is doing. They value Saquon so much to the point where you got A.J. Brown crying and to Jalen Hurts that he's not getting his targets. That's how much they value Saquon Barkley. That's how much they are running the ball. You got A.J. Brown crying. But just 3 weeks ago, it was all flowers and roses when he said, oh yeah, we need to run the ball with Saquon. Now you crying. But that's A.J. Brown. That's what you're going to get. That's exactly what you're going to get. Anyway, If we just run the ball, it will make a world of difference. Now, I'm not saying don't ever pass again. No, I'm not saying that. That's not even possible. When you're Kirk Cousins, you have to be able to read the defense. These defenses know what Kirk Cousins' strengths and weaknesses are. If he gets pressure on him, he's going to panic. If Kirk gets pressure on him, he's going to panic. If he feels like the pocket is getting collapsed and they're going to sack him, he panics. That's when he airmails the ball, and that's where most of those interceptions comes. If you can get Kirk Cousins to panic in the pocket, you're going to be successful as a defense. If Kirk Cousins has a lot of time and he's able to buy time and he's able to take his time and see the defense down the field, he's going to kill you. But when he doesn't have time and that pressure's coming and he's going to collapse and he's going to take a sack, that's when he panics and he puts the ball in the harm's way. That's what you got to avoid. Kirk, you can throw the ball away when need be. You can throw the ball away. You don't have to put the ball in the harm's way and panic and do all that. Throw the ball away. This game was Kirk Cousins. Definitely Kirk Cousins, too. He had 344 yards, and yes, it was a lot of good in this game from Kirk Cousins, but it was bad in this game, too, with the 2 interceptions that he threw, especially going to play against his former team, and his former team's probably saying after that game, yeah, that's why we glad you didn't come back. We glad you didn't sign back with us. We got our quarterback in Sam Darnold now. We glad you didn't come back, Kirk. The fans, I know they were definitely like that. We glad you didn't come back, Kirk, because you do that right there. You throw the interceptions. You give the ball away. Tyler Algier in this game against the Vikings had 9 carries for 63 yards, 1 touchdown. Darnell Mooney had 6 receptions for 142 yards. Darnell Mooney had a hell of a game. Ray McCloud had a good game also with 8 receptions for 98 yards for Ray McCloud. Drake London had 5 receptions for 70 yards. Kyle Pitts had 1 reception for 14 yards. Another thing I want to address. Zach Robinson got introduced as the Falcons offensive coordinator this past offseason. He said they were going to use Kyle Pitts as a tight end, wide receiver to block. All these things he had said that they were going to use Kyle Pitts. They were going to use him more. They were going to do this. They were going to do that. Kyle Pitts has been non-existent in this offense for 3 years. Zach Robinson comes in this past offseason, and this is his first year as Falcons offensive coordinator. You said you're going to do all these things with Kyle Pitts, and Kyle Pitts is just non-existent. The Falcons have not used Kyle Pitts to their advantage. It's just like he's lost in the sauce out there because the Falcons are not using him the way they should be, just like the run game. Not using the run game like we should be. With Kyle Pitts, not using him like we should be. Not using Kyle Pitts like we said that we would. Right, Zach Robinson? Right, Raheem Morris? You have a big tight end. This guy, he's just like Shannon Sharp like. He's just like Travis Kelce like. He's a big body. If you give the ball to him, he's going to do damage. We have to get Kyle Pitts involved in the game plan. I don't understand why we are not hitting Kyle Pitts. I just don't understand it. You have somebody out there that when he catches the ball, he can do damage. We got to get him open. We got to do something to get him involved. We got to give Kyle Pitts his touches. Yes, Ray McCloud is having a hell of a year. Darnell Mooney's having a hell of a year. London's doing his thing, of course. We know that. Kyle Pitts has to be in that category with those guys. He's just another man on the team for no reason. And you have a lot of teams out here that can use Kyle Pitts. And they would use Kyle Pitts to their advantage. In the 3 years that he's been with the Falcons, he has not been used to his advantage. And that's not Kyle Pitts' fault. That's the Falcons' fault. That's another thing. Use the run game and use Kyle Pitts. He's a big tight end. You give him his targets, he's going to do the damage. Trust me. The dude has the potential. Y'all seen something in him when y'all drafted him. So if y'all seen something in him when y'all drafted him, why are y'all not using him? what y'all seen in him when y'all drafted him. He's just another man that's just out there for no doggone reason. And it's frustrating because these games that we have the potential to win, we're not winning because we're not doing the things that we should be doing to win. But in half of these games, in the four games that I just told y'all about, 2 of the games, it wasn't even Kirk Cousins' fault. In the Saints game, he played good. And in this game, he played good. It's just minus the 2 interceptions. The Broncos game, he was horrible. The Chargers game, he was horrible. 2 of those games, the defense played phenomenal. In that Falcons-Saints game, the defense only gave up 17 points. In the Chargers-Falcons game, the defense only gave up 17 points. Well, they gave up 20 points in the Saints game. In the Chargers game, they gave up 17 points. In the Vikings game, they gave up 42. That was trash defense. The Broncos they gave up 38. So half and half. Kirk Cousins' fault. Half and half. The defense's fault. The past 4 games. This game against the Vikings was the defense's fault. Sam Darnold, 22 of 28, 5 touchdowns. He was sacked 4 times. Sam Darnold had 4 carries for 7 yards. Aaron Jones had 13 carries for 73 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 receptions for 11 yards for Aaron Jones. Jordan Addison had 8 receptions for 133 yards, 3 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson had 7 receptions for 132 yards, 2 touchdowns for Justin Jefferson. TJ Hockenson had 4 receptions for 45 yards. Josh Oliver, 1 reception for 26 yards. So, the score was 42-21. This was strictly the defense's fault. And Kirk Cousins' fault, too, for putting the ball in harm's way. But as the offensive play caller, Zach Robinson, you have the talent on the team. Use the talent around you that y'all put around Kirk Cousins and stop letting him put the ball in harm's way. Kirk Cousins, you have to do a better job of reading defenses. These defenses have keyed in on you. They know your strengths. They know your weaknesses. You got to do a better job of reading the defense and stop second-guessing yourself. Stop second-guessing your throws and just throw it. Don't double cluster throw. That gives the defense more time to adjust and do what they need to do to get the interception. But this is still a winnable division. As crazy as it may sound, we're 6-7. The Buccaneers are 7-6, and they have a far more hard schedule than what we have. And I think on top of that, we still got to play Carolina. So that's like out of the next three of our 4 games that we have remaining, we're playing teams that we should beat. That's no guarantee. But Kirk, you have an opportunity to redeem yourself. You need to redeem yourself. The one thing that I would say that everybody said, is it time to make a quarterback change? I would say no. And the reason why I would say no is because I know that Kirk Cousins is playing bad. I get that. I'm just as pissed off as anybody about it. Trust me. The reason why I would say no to not making a quarterback change is we're 6-7, as I just mentioned. The Buccaneers are 7-6, as I just mentioned. The Buccaneers have a far more schedule than we do in these next 4 games to close out the season. We have an easier schedule in our next 4 games to close out the season, as I just told you guys. That's why I would not make a change. We're still in play to win this division. We're still in play to possibly go to the playoffs. We're still in play for that. Now, if it had been, we don't have a chance this next 4 games, the division's done, it's over, it's a wrap, the Buccaneers already won the division, then I would be like, yes, go to Michael Penix Jr. Then, if our season is basically over, yes, go to Michael Penix Jr. By all means, put him in, see what he has. But we're still in play to win this division. We're still in play to make the playoffs. And we have a far more easier schedule. So that's why you don't make the quarterback change. It's because you're in playoff contention still. As bad as Kirk Cousins is playing, he's gonna figure it out. He's going to figure it out. We have the New York Giants, the Las Vegas Raiders. Then we got Carolina, who we still have to play, who's playing extremely better, by the way. We have those teams who we should beat, but when it's the Falcons, you can't guarantee these wins when it's the Falcons. You just can't guarantee it. So, but that's why I would not make a quarterback change. That's all I have for you guys today. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about the last 4 games that we played. Is all of it Kirk Cousins' fault, or some of it the defense's fault? I think it's half and half. I think it's the defense and Kirk Cousins. But we out of here.